Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and I'm going to be breaking down City Morgue type beats. If you haven't heard of City Morgue, they're a rap duo from New York. The members are ZillaKami, who you've probably heard of, as well as Mula. Their producer THRAXX is also part of the group. I've been getting into them more recently and I think they're pretty cool actually. They've got kind of a heavy metal style mixed with trap. I think it's really innovative and pretty cool and just something that hasn't really been done before in this way, and I think it sounds really good. The best way that I can describe these beats is really bouncy and really aggressive. So starting off with the tempo, we're going to be anywhere from about 155 to 180 BPM. As you can see, I'm here at 175. So getting into our sound selection, you're going to want to start off most of the time with like a heavy metal style, really distorted electric guitar. For me, I decided to go with arcade and use this dirt road guitar. Then I used this amp simulator and made this right here. It starts off with some distortion, then we've just got a standard amp adding a little bit more distortion as well. Then we've got a cabinet right here, and finally we've got some reverb at the end. So I just laid out this really simple riff right here. As I said, this is going to be really inspired by like heavy metal and punk music especially. You're also going to want to make it really dark, so you're going to want to use a lot of these little half note jumps right here. So this is what the pattern sounds like. So as you probably noticed, it sounded really robotic, and that's kind of to be expected whenever you're using a VST guitar. There's not too much that you can do about that, but there are definitely a few things. Now the first one, which you all probably know, is randomizing it. So to do that, you're going to press Alt-R and then play with the velocity knob until you like it. The other one is you're going to want to move the notes slightly off the grid. So as you can see, I moved this note just a little bit forward, this note just a little bit backwards, this one quite a bit backwards, this one a little bit forwards, and so on. You don't want to do it with every single note, but you do want to do it with most of them. Also make sure you're not going backwards or forwards every single time. You want to be switching back and forth between them. Just make sure you're changing up which direction you're going every few notes. Also make sure you don't go too far. You don't really want this to be super noticeable, but believe me, it makes a big difference. Next, I just cloned the guitar and I put the exact same amp on it, and I just made this really simple little counter melody. It's just going back and forth between these two half steps right here. That's going to give it a really dark vibe, and it keeps it really nice and simple for the counter melody. This is what it sounds like. I actually just decided to cut this last note in half and move it up to the C that's up an octave. Next, for the next part of the counter melody, I decided to just go with Creepypiano, which is a free plugin, and I went with the grotesque preset. I just made this little pattern right here. As you can see, again, we're using a lot of those half steps. I also threw guitar rig on this sound, and I used the double treble preset. It sounds like this. Now you don't necessarily have to do any counter melodies in these beats. The melodies are generally very simple, but if you do decide to go with any counter melodies, make sure you keep them very simple like these ones. So next, getting into the drums, let's talk about the hi-hats. For the sound I chose, I went with the Lex hat, and then I just pitched it down an octave, so now it sounds like this. Pitching it down an octave is a pretty common thing for the hi-hats in these beats. Then for your pattern, you're going to want to go a little bit crazier than usual. The trick when you're doing these hi-hats is to make it really bouncy, but also make sure that people can still rap on it. So as you can see, we've got some rolls here and there. We've also got these triplet notes right here, and then we've got the same triplets just at twice the speed. Then we've also got a little gap right here, and then you can also throw in some doubles and stuff if you want to. I just didn't think it suited this beat really. So this is what it sounds like. So next, I just added this snare sound. You want to go with something that's really prominent and that's going to cut through the mix a lot. You could also use a clap, but it's a little bit less common in these beats. Then I also rendered out this piano pattern. I did that because I had guitar rig on it, and I'm broke, so I don't own the full version of guitar rig, so it was going to time out soon. Speaking of being broke, if you guys want to help me out, you can go over and support me on Patreon. I really appreciate that. It's only a couple bucks a month, and you get some really cool stuff. You get FLPs from my beats, you get my drum kit for free. You also get to choose who I do for these videos. I also have a spreadsheet spreadsheet with all of the type beat characteristics that I've done. It's really well organized and nicely put together. It's also got some for people that I haven't even covered in videos yet, and I also have that available for free over on my Patreon when you support me, so make sure you do that. It's only a couple bucks a month and it helps out a whole lot. Next, for your 808, you're gonna want to use something that's a little bit longer, sort of on the medium to long side, and you're gonna want to have it really distorted. I decided to go with this Undying 808 out of my Academy drum kit, which you can get down at the link in the description or for free if you support me on Patreon. So this is the 808 pattern that I made. As you can see, it's way more complicated than most 808 patterns would usually be, but that's just kind of how these beats are. You're gonna have a lot of jumping around between higher and lower notes, kind of like we've got here. Then you might also have some rolls like this right here. Overall, just make sure that you keep it bouncy, but don't go too crazy. Make sure that people can still rap on it. This is what it sounds like. Next, I layered the 808 pattern with a kick. I put it all on one note, and then I just simplified the pattern a little bit. So I took out a lot of notes and just left the really important ones, and this is what it sounds like. Make sure that the kick sound that you're using is really aggressive. That's just going to help it match the theme of the song a little bit. Next, you could add an open hi-hat sound if you want to, although I don't think it's going to fit really good in this beat, so I'm not going to for this one, but it is in a lot of these songs, so play around with it and see if you like it. So next, I just added this little snare pattern. Pretty simple, really. This is what it sounds like. And this is all I'm going to add to the beat. Even though the drums are a lot more complicated than in most beats, the melodies are a little bit simpler, so it kind of balances out. Big thing is just make sure you don't overdo it. You still want it to be simple enough for somebody to rap on. So next I'm going to mix it. If you want to see my full mixing process, you can go check out my mixing tutorial, which I'll put up in the card in the corner. So for the mix, it's pretty simple. We've got that guitar amp that I showed you on the guitars earlier. Then I just have this soft clipper on the kick to keep it below 0 decibels. And that's all the effects. Then I just leveled it. So now I'm going to arrange it and I'll play the beat at the end of the video, but first I'd like to say thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Also check me out on Instagram. When I reach 2,000 followers, I'm dropping a free MIDI kit. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube as well. When I reach 400 subs, I'm dropping a free loop kit. You can also check out my 300 subscriber loop kit, which is down in the description. But yeah, that's about it. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.
How did Deprimido make this slap so hard?